I'll cut this bit out. Welcome to the History Veteran UK. Does what it says on the tin. Right, so I'm with Dave Eales today, and if you've been following my videos, you'll see that I've already spoken to Dave twice. Well, Dave did most of the talking, but that's how my career usually panned out, Dave speaking to me. So, yeah, we're going to start off. This is part 3 of Dave's army career. So, welcome again, Dave. All right, feeling all right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
not too nervous. Billy Connolly was unable to make it today, obviously.
No,
the world's best comedian, so it'll have to be you, mate.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the last time we spoke, we'd gone through your career and we'd got to sergeant, and we just spoke about your first sort of night as a sergeant, which didn't go too well.
Oh yeah, the catastrophe of the range day following.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, just continue on from there, really, if you can remember that far back.
Right. I've done all right so far. I think
Yeah, you
I've
haven't done
remembered.
too bad,
I've remembered a bit. There's lots I'm missing out, of course, because well, you don't want too much of a video, do you? Anyway, I recovered from the range day fiasco with scarless, no problems there, and then the next real major event in that part of my life was the first exercise we had to go on, and it was a really rainy exercise. It rained all the time, which actually was terrible. Really,
Where was it?
Otterburn.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so most people know what Otterburn soldiers do. But anyway, this was my very first exercise. I think everyone had forgotten the range. And I thought, well, that's it. Now it's all up and onwards. I'll do well on this. And we went off to Otterburn, and it was a huge battalion exercise, concentration. And it was all tented. The troops were in 120 pounders. That's the one I couldn't remember last time.
Oh, right, yeah.
And there was smaller ones for the platoon sergeants and platoon commanders and what have you. So I was in a tent with the other 2 platoon sergeants, and I mentioned who they were, so I might as well say it again, mightn't I? It was Johnny Knowles and Mickey Venmore, 2 absolute stars, wonderful guys. And they're the ones that got me in trouble for the range day. But they were super traps. And we arrived there in Bedfords or whatever, and we all did, but the NCOs and the troops went into their accommodation, the big tents, and Mick, Johnny and myself, we went into our tent, which was obviously much smaller. It was just for us 3, and we put all our stuff up, and we had a little heater in the middle, because it was quite chilly, you know what I mean?
As it always is.
As it always is, but I think this must have been October, November time, so yeah, it was quite chilly, but it was pouring with rain. We had fires in the centre, so we got the fire going, got our camp beds out and all our stuff laid out. And the very next day, was when we were due to move off on the actual exercise. And I knew that it was going to start with a long march. That was, the whole thing. It was going to be a long march, just to test the troops, test me, I guess. But I mean, I had nothing to do with the plaid. It was battalion plaid, and the company was going to move out silly 100 hours, and off we were going to go. And anyway, Johnny Knowles and Mickey Venn, there was a mess tent, sergeant's mess tent, officer's mess tent, naffy for the troops, all tented. And Johnny Knowles and Mickey Venn, true to form, said, threw all their stuff out, got it all roughly ready for tomorrow. They'll cross that bridge when they get to it. They said, right, down to the mess for a few beers. And I said, you're joking? And they said, yeah, come on. I said, well, I'm not ready for tomorrow yet. Don't forget, I'm only a young sergeant, and I don't want to muck things up. And tomorrow was my first time. I couldn't afford to muck that up. I wanted to look the bee's knees, you know what I mean? I didn't want to look a wreck like I knew these 2 would. And I said, no, I'm not going. And they said, come on. I said, no, I'm staying here. getting my kit ready, early night, and then I'll be ready for tomorrow. And they said, yeah, blowout, you know, wimp, and what have you, and other words to that effect. And they went off to the mess tent. I dutifully got all my stuff. It was all laid out, ready. All I had to do was get it all on in the morning. Got myself undressed, tucked in, went to sleep. Lovely. I heard these two giggling girls get back, I don't know, about 11:30 or so. They were giggling and tripping over things. And, anyway, they finally got into their sleeping bags. And I pretended to be asleep, so they didn't talk to me. And I finally went back to sleep. And I don't know, some time later, you know, I don't know, half an hour later, I woke up. I don't know why I woke up, but I woke up and there was flickering light on the inside of the tent. And at first, I thought it was a reflection from outside. I thought some idiot set fire to their tent. And then I realised I could smell smoke. And I turned round and it was our tent that was on fire. The fire, they had these two donuts before going to bed, because they got soaking wet, hung all their clothes up on a washing line directly over the fire. So when they had dried off, they then got hot and burst into flames. When I looked, the whole washing line was on fire. I couldn't believe it. It was going up onto the canvas, and I flew out of bed and I shouted, "Fire! Get out! Fire!" And these two wouldn't wake up. So I grabbed Johnny Knowles, I grabbed hold of him and pulled him out. He was still asleep. He was still asleep in his sleeping bag, and I ran back in. Mickey Venwell was still asleep. Now the tent was just full of smoke. You could only see glimly through. And I ran over to Mickey Venwell's, grabbed hold of him, pulled him out. By the time I got him out, he sat up. He was going, "What's going on? What's going on?" And I said, "There's a fire." And he just sat there looking at it. And I thought, well, I've got to let this tent down. I've got to get it down. And remember I said, unfortunately, it was a rainy exercise, but in some ways lucky, because it was pouring with rain. And as I pulled the tent pegs out, by the time I got to the end, the fire overtook me. And when I pulled the last peg out, the only thing I let down was smouldering poles. The canvas had gone. And there was just a pile of burning poles. And all our stuff had burnt, everything. And by now the fire picket were out, but I'd pulled the tent down, so I'd done everything I could do. And because I was still perfectly okay, these two were in their sleeping bag. People were rushing around them. "Oh no, are you okay?" Well, hang on, I was in there too. I just saved the day, or saved the night, you know. But I never got any thanks for that. We had to go to the company stores that night and to finish the night with stuff. And we had to be completely reissued, because when we went back to the tent the next day, it was all rainy. So everything was wet. And my sleeping bag was a burnt out crisp. You know the old sleeping bags,
Yeah.
they didn't burn, they just shriveled up, didn't they?
Like an old crisp packet.
And everything was ruined, and we picked through it trying to find out some decent stuff. And in the end, most of the stuff, to be fair, most of the stuff that was in the Bergens and what have you, or large packs.
I was going to say, was it large pack and
large packs.
bedroll on the top?
That's
there?
right. Yeah. Most of that was still okay, so I still had big clothes. But all the stuff that had been ruined, because it was a battalion exercise, the CQMS had all his kit there. He had spare pouches, spare this. So, because that was on the stuff that CQMS obviously took. Anyway, we got reissued with all our stuff and quickly busied ourselves repacking. So I managed to get out on parade, on time, ready to march out. I had all new stuff. My boots were all squeaky new and everything. And I went out on the exercise. But this is the thing. If it had just happened a year later, when I was as bad as them, you know what I mean? But it happened that night.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm not going down the mess. Because of that, we survived.
Yeah.
But if I'd have had a few beers like them, I wouldn't have woken up. And we would have, all of us, been inside those shriveled up sleeping bags in the morning. Yeah. And then what would the company have done without me?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, we got through the rest of that exercise. It rained continuously, but that was my first exercise, and I'd done fine. I'd done all right on it, and I felt well entrenched by the time I got back from that. Then after that, I got married to Anne, and
Lucky Anne, eh?
Lucky Anne, yeah. And then we went off. 4 weeks later, we went off to Cyprus. Not Anne. I don't mean a honeymoon. I mean the battalion went to Cyprus, and I left Anne at home. I saw her, after the time.
Nice introduction. How long was you in Cyprus for?
6 months.
Yeah. Was that a UN tour?
Well, it was, yes, but we weren't UN for the whole 6 months.
Oh, okay.
The battalion was split in half. Half were on a Cyprus tour, so we were down the beach and what have you. We didn't have to do anything really. We done ranges and other little exercises. We were supposed to be protecting that part of Cyprus, and when we used to go out on patrols,
on the beach.
No, we had proper patrols.
Yeah.
We had a venture training platoon and a patrols platoon and what have you. And when we was patrolled, we would go out on patrol on the streets of Cyprus with more gear than on Northern Ireland.
Wow,
We'd go out with GPMGs on the top of the cupolas with bandoliers of ammo. Why we were doing that, I really don't know. I probably did at the time. Well, I hope I did at the time. I was a platoon sergeant.
Intimidation by appearance.
Yeah, looking back, I can't really remember why we were doing it. But anyway, we'd done things like live firing, grenade stalks, 84 stalks. Yeah, we'd done a lot of really, really good training. But the main purpose of that tour was United Nations.
Yeah.
And the other half of the battalion done their 3 months United Nations, then we swapped over.
Yeah.
So we done the first part was a non-United Nations, and our second half was United Nations, and my company was stationed at the box factory. And that was exactly what it was. It was a factory that used to make boxes in the olden days, but this was now, in almost like no man's land. So it was not.
You patrolled the green zone.
Yeah, that's right. And
Did you ever go to Wayne's Keep?
No.
The cemetery there?
No.
Because just as an aside, I think I'm right in saying that place there, Wayne's Keep Cemetery,
are all the soldiers that were killed
during
the Cyprus
uprising, and it was the last time that troops were buried without the opportunity to come home.
Yeah, there's a whole cemetery there in no man's land.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Wayne's Keep Cemetery. Yeah, I'm sure it's called Wayne's Keep. Yeah.
But in that box factory, we had company headquarters, a platoon, and then in little houses that were, farmers' houses and what have you, in the times of plenty, they were all stretched down, and we would have those as our bases. And one platoon would be on one side, platoon would be on the other side, and we swapped over a month on each.
You say times of plenty. Now I know quite a few Cypriots, and they always said they had nothing.
Yeah, there was plenty of oranges. We'd just go outside and just pick our oranges whenever we wanted.
Well, I stayed in the mess at Episcopi when we went out with Mal Scott. We went out and did that course out there, and the science mess veranda that had oranges and lemon trees out.
Absolutely.
The smell was beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway, the outlying stations, they were as they were. Just a platoon would be in an outlying station, and there would be sentry boxes all the way along, and the platoon headquarters would be in one of the little huts, and the sentries would be changed as normal. But in the company headquarters, the box factory, you had a platoon that done adventure training and played around and was on standby and what have you. And when my platoon was in there, we had, it was where the company headquarters was, and I told you about Dave Cooper, the platoon company sergeant major, the one that looked after me when I first joined. Yeah. Best company sergeant major I ever knew. There was he was fat. There's lots of good ones, but he was the best one as far as I was concerned.
I can't think of my favourite sergeant major.
I try. Seriously, he was like a barra boy, and he used to talk like one. It was so funny, and he was always playing practical jokes. Always playing practical jokes on platoon sergeants. And one day we had the commander of the UN forces in Cyprus come to visit us. He was a general, Canadian general. I won't do the Canadian accent because you picked me up for him, the American one. But they're almost the same, aren't they? He came to visit and doing a casual inspection. It was only a casual inspection, nothing laid on for him, obviously apart from a meal and what have you. And we were all waiting, and the helicopter came down, and out he came, and he ran across to meet us, and he was met by the OC, obviously, and Dave Cooper, the sergeant major. Now, just go back a bit, Dave Cooper made a beautiful little garden in the mess area that was for him and the OC, the platoon commander and the platoon sergeant and colour sergeant that was in that area at the time. And he made a fantastic little garden. He dug up plants from outside and relocated them into his little garden. He dug a pond and filled it full of water, and that had bees coming in. It was a fantastic little garden. He had chickens, and he had a little chicken run and a chicken coop. And that was his pride and joy. And he used to say to everybody who visited, come and have a look at my garden. Come and have a look, come on. And the Canadian general arrived and shook hands. And we were actually in the garden. And Dave Cooper said, come in and come into our mess and you can meet the platoon sergeants and the platoon commander and what have you. So he said, and in he came. And he said, wow, this is magnificent. It was really nice. Lovely place to relax. And he said, you've got chickens as well. And he opened up the chicken coop, and Dave Cooper says, they're not very good at laying. Just prior to that, the night before, me, Johnny Knowles, had boiled about 30 hard-boiled eggs. And we had laid them out like a pyramid inside, there was a big pyramid of hard-boiled eggs. And this Canadian general put his head in, and as he put it in, Dave Cooper said, no, they're not particularly good. And he sat up and said, they've done pretty good today. And Dave Cooper had to look. He said, I'll get you. It was really quite funny. The Canadian general obviously thought it was quite funny, just as well, because then everybody else did. But of course, Dave Cooper got his own back with us by, all his normal silly jokes, like putting eggs in the bottom of our boots, that type of thing. He was a great prankster. Anyway, that was Cyprus. It was a pretty good time, I would say. All my posts.
Nice and sunny, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely and sunny.
Yeah,
anyway, I was glad to get home, obviously, because I'd only just got married.
Yeah. And hadn't moved on by then?
No. But we hadn't had a honeymoon.
Yeah.
So Johnny Knowles said, well, you only just got married and you come straight out. Have you not got a honeymoon? And I said, I haven't had time for that. Maybe I'll sort something out when I get home. And he said, well, you got no plans? And I said, no. And he said, don't worry, leave it to me. He said, we're going to Vauxhall holiday camp, because he had a daughter at that stage. And he said, we're going to Vauxhall holiday camp. Caravans, it's a really great place in Yarmouth. I said, yeah, that sounds all right. And he said, leave it with me, I'll get Joan, his wife. I'll get Joan to sort it out. She did. They'd already booked up there, and she booked up for me and Anne, and everything was all done. So That was our honeymoon sorted out. So after Cyprus,
Great Yarmouth.
we went on our 2 weeks holiday leave, and we went off to Great Yarmouth, and I had a week at Great Yarmouth with Johnny Knowles and his family. Yeah, that was great. Anyway, we got back from that, and what happened then? Oh yes. After that, I then was sent on a drill course, and the reason I had to go on a drill course is because I'd been earmarked to go to the depot as a platoon sergeant, training sergeant. And the drill course...
At Purbright.
Purbright.
Yeah.
Yeah, Purbright. And it was quite a fun course. It's not one I'd like to do every day of the week. No. And I'm not suggesting I learnt enough there to survive for the rest of my career. But it was, I had the confidence, after doing that drill course, I had the confidence of being able to do drill when I went to the depot, because remember I teach recruits drill. And it also...
I've got to point out, it's quite an accolade to be chosen as a instructor at depot.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'd done the drill course. One part of the drill course, because the guards, sergeants and staff sergeants who were the instructors there, they lived in the mess. When I say lived, I don't mean they slept in the mess. I mean they lived in there, and it was beer for everything. There's an occasion for a beer, and at the end of every day, we were getting our kit ready for the next day, going down there, all the instructors still in their uniforms, at the bar. I couldn't quite believe it. They were worse than we were. But one particular thing on that course was amusing, is we had to do a funeral drill, and we were taught all the drill, all the different parts of the drill, and then the day of the drill, everyone was given their appointments, because as you know, on these courses you have to do So the funeral commander was chosen, and everybody had their jobs, and we all fell into our jobs. And then once everyone was in place, we then carried out a funeral, a proper funeral. There was the vicar, there was the coffin, every hole in the ground, the whole thing, a proper funeral. And after that, we went back to the mess and had the wake. It was, and by tea time, everyone was bladdered. I can't believe it. It was. If you didn't drink, you were out of place on this course. Because you would never see the instructor other than when you're on the square. So that was the drill course, and obviously I passed that. Went back home, and I was then posted to the depot, and I went off with Anne with our suitcases. Off we went, because we didn't have anything else, because we hadn't been married long, had we? So we didn't have a great deal to pack. It wasn't like Pickford's had to turn up. It was just us and our suitcases. And I got to the depot.
At Bassingbourne, in Cambridgeshire.
Bassingbourne Barracks. The one I mentioned about when I was a junior soldier.
This before,
Yeah, I was a junior soldier there. And just divert off slightly, when I was there as a platoon sergeant, I went back to my first block, and I just wanted, because I had to, you couldn't not, could you? And I went in there, and all the soldiers were in there. I had the platoon sergeant's permission, of course, and he was with me because he was one of my friends. And we came in, and I spoke to the chap who was in my bed, and I said, that was my bed space. That was my bed space when I was 15. I said, so you better do well, better live up to it. Hopefully something will brush off on you. Anyway, I just diverted off then to mention that. That was quite nice. But anyway, I arrived at the depot, and lo and behold, shortly after me, I didn't know this was going to happen. It was just it wasn't, oh, that's surprising.
Yeah.
It's just no one bothered to tell me, Dave Cooper turned up there.
Oh, okay.
My favourite sergeant. He turned up and he took over the junior soldier company.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So he was my sergeant major again. And I took over, and I'd done 2 years there. and they were a year each. Well, me as a junior soldier, I had to do 2 years because I joined at 15. Now, by this time, they couldn't join until they were 16.
Yeah.
So they were only doing 1 year. So I'd done 2 platoons, 1 year each. But all the benefits that I had as a junior, they did. I think I mentioned it in the first video. Every term, at the end of every term, you would go home on your leave. When you came back, that was your 2 weeks adventure training.
Yeah.
So you'd have 2 weeks adventure training. And it was exactly the same then, doing exactly the same. It was fantastic. Now I was going back, doing the adventure training, but as, you know, the member of staff, as the platoon sergeant. I didn't have to do there were instructors to do that. I'm not qualified to do skiing or anything like that. So there was proper instructors. I just had to enjoy myself. You know what I mean? And I'd done everything all over again. Oh, one thing, this is interesting. Do you remember in the second video, I told you how much I'd always wanted to do a free-fall parachuting course?
Yes, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, and I never did get it. And then when I did get the opportunity, I swapped it for the Brecon course. Well, one year, we took the lads to Cornwall, and one of the events, there were obviously again rock climbing and all the other bits and pieces, but one of the events was run by the Cornwall Freefall Parachuting club. And we'd organised it with them to run the parachuting. So that was one of the options. And nobody wanted to, none of the staff members wanted to do that. I secretly did, you know, I wanted to do that, I want to do it. But I didn't want to, you know, just say, I'm doing that. Anyway, when they were dishing them out the next day, because don't forget, all the guys done everything.
Yeah.
So who's going to go and do the parachuting? And they wanted me to go. I don't know why, but probably because they wanted to see fear on my face. But yeah, they wanted me. So I got my parachuting in the end. Yeah, that was funny, that was. Because we had an old crop sprayer to jump out of, and no seats. Everyone sat on the floor. We'd done all the training and everything. And when it was the time to go up and jump out, I think that was about two days in or something. We went up. We all had to sit, hutch in and sit on the floor. And everyone was nervous and everyone was looking around, but I was trying to be cool. And we looked. You could look out the window, and there was the wing went above the above as opposed to over. Yeah. And then there was at the base there was corrugated struts with wheels on, and then there was the actual strut, the wing strut that went up from the base of the plane up to the wing, and you had to go along the strut where the wheels were with your chest on this strut, and you went, and then you had to wait until the guy said, go. And of course I go first. So I hope I looked okay, you know what I mean? Well, I went across and I looked back and you could see the troops looking through the little windows. They all had terror on their faces because they were going to have to do it next. And then we had the sheep, the tiny little sheep. You could see all this, like little carpets. Yeah. Wonderful it was. I mean, but my bottom was going Tanner a bob, I tell you. But yeah, anyway, that worked out really good. And that was the adventure training. I came very close to death, actually. This was almost as bad as the fire. But we were going up to do the skiing. This was on a different adventure training. This was after the Christmas holiday. We'd done skiing, exactly the same place as I went when I was a boy there, Aviemore, the ski centre at Aviemore. Yeah. And we were on our way up, and we was on the last long stretch before you got up to the car park. And I used to like sitting further at the back because it was the warmest place, you know, and I had my sleeping bag just in case. And we were crammed in with all the troops, a platoon's worth of troops. And my NCOs were in the front, at the back, sorry, by the tailgate. And we were driving up, and as you do, we had snow chains on, and there was snow. It was just proper winter.
It's in a Bedford MK.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, a jolt and slide, and we were all at that angle. Crazy. This is a no return angle.
Yeah.
No, and we stopped, and the platoon commander, before we even stopped sliding, he was at the back. He jumped out of the cab, and he was out the back, and he was saying, "Oh, don't move, don't move." And the boys, they just wanted to get out.
Yeah,
and I shout at top of my drill square voice, "Sit still," or words to that effect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they all froze. Yeah. My two NCOs on the tailgate, they were out. I said, "Don't move," because they were first. Before I could shout freeze, they'd gone.
Yeah.
And they were all saying, platoon commander was going, "Oh, don't move, don't move." And I said, "Right, one at a time, carefully get out." And they got out one at a time. And the first one who was getting out, pleasure on his face. Yeah. You could see the ones at the back, terror. You know, I said, "No one's to move, one at a time." And one at a time, they got out. Last of all, of course, I got out.
Yeah.
And this is, I knew that afterwards that there was no way it was going to go.
Right. But it was just that angle. Yeah.
It was the angle that if that rock hadn't been there, and if you stood at that lorry, if you could look down, there was a complete slope, 200 yards at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lorry was at an angle of no return. It wasn't going to do anything but roll.
Yeah.
All that was do was just pure white virgin snow to a cliff drop.
Oh, right, okay.
And that way was just pure white snow. Not footprints or anything. Virgin snow. That way, pure white snow. All the way up. One rock was sticking out of the snow, and it caught the drive shaft of the Bedford.
Okay. Yeah.
If we'd have come off a foot either side, that wouldn't have saved us, and we would have gone down and over the cliff.
And of course, it's only like thin aluminium piping and canvas.
Yeah. One roller would have been flattened. Yeah. So, no way that we could have had a disco on the back there. It wouldn't have gone over.
Yeah.
But that's not the point.
Yeah.
We didn't know that, but we carefully got off. And when we got off and we realised the actual fact that one rock got wedged on the drive shaft, and that's what stopped
Should have gone and bought a lottery ticket.
Wow, if it had been lotteries in those days, I would have.
Did they recover the vehicle? Did they get another one up to move you up?
Well, no concern of mine. It's not my exercise. I was just worried about my lads.
Yeah,
and,
of course. Yeah.
I got them. We had to walk with our gear up to the car park, and once you got up there were ski lifts.
Yeah.
And we had ski passes and what have you. When I was a lad there, we didn't have ski passes. When I was there, we had to walk up, because in those days they didn't.
Character building.
Yeah, they were just feeding us. They didn't need us.
Yeah.
And anyway, for that day, they were going up the ski lift with their instructors and skiing down and up again. And I went up there once. I got up the top, and I looked, and all I could see down the valley where all the skis were and the lifts coming up, and you could see our lorry. You could see our lorry at that angle, just parked at that angle. And every time I looked at it, I thought, oh, no, I don't want to see that. So I didn't go up again. I just stayed at the cafe down the bottom. But anyway, that was the adventure training. My drill, lucky that I went on that course. I said how well it would serve me in the future. But I had to do a funeral, a proper funeral while I was there for a lad called Neil Clark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He was killed, yeah.
He's on the Margate War Memorial, in fact.
Yeah, it was down the Shorncliffe one is where he's buried.
Yeah. St Martin's Cemetery. Yeah.
Jesse James, you remember Jesse James? Another fantastic sergeant major.
Rings a bell, yeah.
Very, very, very good sergeant major, yeah. And he was at the depot at the same time, and he was doing training wing. And he was the warrant officer chosen to command the funeral. Yeah. He organised and commanded the funeral. And as a sergeant, I was commanding the firing party. So, and obviously for Neil Clark, we had to do everything as very best we could.
Yeah,
and,
of course, yeah.
And it went off very, very well, drill wise. Yeah, so it was lucky we'd done all that funeral drill at the course. But that was Basinborn. My daughter was born there, Joanne. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she made her first appearance there. And after that, as I say, 2 years, done 2 platoons, identical platoons. I also, at that for both platoons, I had different staff except for the platoon commander. Mm-hmm. I had the same platoon commander, who was a fusilier.
Oh, okay,
And he was a captain, because all platoon commanders at the depot are captains. Not lieutenants. Captain Leadsom, he was, his name, Fusilier, and he was a very, very good platoon commander, very good platoon commander. Anyway, we left there and went to Oakington. That's where I rejoined the battalion when they were in Oakington. And what we were preparing for then was our Falklands tour. And I went to A Company, 2 platoon A Company I went to there.
Yeah.
And the most of it was the preparation for the Falklands, obviously to make sure everyone was marching fit, because there's a lot of ground to cover in the Falklands. So we had a lot of fitness training to do. Just making sure I get everything in the right order in my mind.
What year would this have been?
Oh, Dickie, I don't know.
No.
I can't remember. 84?
Yeah, so not long after the war. Then.
Just after the war.
Yeah.
Just after the war, yeah. Anyway.
Because am I right? I may have got this wrong, but I believe 2 Queens, 2nd Battalion Queen's Regiment, were the spearhead battalion when the Falklands War broke out?
No.
They weren't, no?
No.
Were they designated to go, though?
No, I don't think so.
No, okay. Right.
No, I know we weren't spearhead, because I remember the spearhead. I got in a bit of a tiz at this stage of my career. I was a bit upset because the spearhead battalion, they're the battalion that is on earmark, on standby to go and do it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But they were stood down.
Right, okay.
And high prestige units took their place. That's why.
To the Falklands.
To the Falklands.
Yeah,
That's why the Paras went. The Guards went.
Yeah. So
but the
you were
standby,
but you stood down as spearhead.
Yeah. Well, no, we weren't.
Oh, I see. Right,
we
gotcha.
weren't.
Okay. Yeah.
But the spearhead battalion was
stood
down,
Yeah.
and that upset me a lot. What happens if I'd have been on spearhead? What about my battalion if we would have been stood down? So what are they saying? We're okay to pretend to be on spearhead, but if something happens, you're not really.
Yeah.
Well, why not just put the guards on it all the time?
Yeah.
No, and I was very upset about that.
Yeah.
Because, not because it happened to me, but it could have.
Yeah,
if we'd been on spearhead, that would have happened. And if that had happened to me, I'd have left. I'd have left the army if that had happened.
Oh, okay.
Well, because that's insulting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Grossly insulting. But anyway, it never happened. So we trained to go to the Falklands, and off we went. And the Falklands was split in again into 2 parts, I think, really. Was it 2 or 3? 2 parts. My company went to Fox Bay first, which is a settlement on the West Falklands.
Yeah.
And we would patrol West Falklands, and that's 1 platoon would patrol West Falklands, 1 platoon would be on guards and duties, and 1 platoon, split in half, would be guarding the radar installations. One was Mount Alice, which was mine, that's why I remember it.
Yeah.
And my platoon commander was, I can't remember the name of that one, doesn't matter, there was 2.
Yeah.
One was Mount Alice. And we would spend, a week up there guarding it, and then we'd swat around but like a round robin. God, it was so windy, it's the windiest place in the world. And we would work at daytime, it would be defended by javelin, the Royal Artillery.
Yeah.
And then at night time, because they couldn't operate at night, it would be infantry manning. So that's why we were up there. We would guard it at night. And God, we used to go from the accommodation up there was ISO containers. You know, ISO containers.
Yeah.
They were taken up there in weeks before, and dropped off and made into a huge indoor camp. It was all the accommodation, the mess, the dining rooms, all these containers. Brilliant, really well thought out. But we had to go from there to the guard room, and troops would like try and take their Monopoly game with them. And the wind would, by the time they got there, they just had an empty box, It was so windy. And we had like handrails we had to hold on to because it really was that windy. Yeah, that was an amazing time. When we was at Fox Bay, the headquarters, that was when we were guards of duties. One of the, I'll have to look it up and see if it's still going and still being done. But from our side of the river, you could look across, and the other side was a steep bank and a huge, great long, hundreds of metres long, but it was a real steep bank on the other side of the river. And it had started 3 or 4, it couldn't have been more than 4 battalions before us started it. Green Jackets, I think it was. But they used to go across and they made a huge cap badge out of painted stones.
Right, yeah.
So, and when we arrived there, I think there was 3. So the people that were there had to go and do the Queen's badge.
Right, gotcha.
So by the time we left, there was the Queen's badge, huge, massive badges on this great big bank, and you could stand on our side of the river where the camp was, and you could look across and see the badges. It was really quite well done.
I think the Turks did the same with the flag in the mountains in Cyprus.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
Big red Turkish flag.
I'll have to have a look, see if they're still doing that. But that was Fox Bay, and we had Christmas there, and done gunfire for the troops, Christmas morning.
So just to point out, gunfire. You didn't have them outside shooting.
No.
And it wasn't coffee with gunpowder.
No, right, I'll explain that. If you're on duty Christmas Day, anywhere in the world, it doesn't matter where you are, Christmas Day you get gunfire, which is coffee with rum or whiskey in it, whatever's handy. And then all the seniors and the officers and platoon sergeants go round the company, waking them up at Reveille, nicely waking them up. And they've got Norwegian containers full of coffee, which they pour in when it was like being a little boy at Christmas. When you're a little boy at Christmas, you hang your stockings over the end of your bed, don't you? When the troops...
Your mum gave you rum and
whiskey? No, I had the stocking. But it was the same as that, because when the troops went to bed the night Christmas Eve, they would have out their black mugs. They'd all have their black mugs out. So when we came round to wake them up in the morning, they'd have their black mug. And we would fill it up with coffee, then that brandy or rum or whiskey, whatever they wanted in there. And we would go round and wake everyone up and nicely, giving them gunfire. Yeah. And that was a tradition. I'd done it once, I think, when I was at Colchester. I had it done to me, of course. I'd done it once when I was in Cyprus. I had to do it to the troops then, because I was a platoon sergeant. Once here in the Falklands, and a couple of other times. Anyway, that's gunfire. And when we finished that part of the tour, we then swapped, and we were at the fan deck. The main purpose of that was to guard the Phantom runway, because that's where the Phantom. That's where the Phantoms were, and we used to guard that. I don't know why the RAF regiment didn't do it. Maybe they'd done it in the day and we'd done it at night because they were too scared to do it at night. I don't know. But we guarded them. And we also, so it was the same thing again, you platoon on guard.
So you're not just knocking the RAF regiment, this
no,
is esprit de corps, of course.
No.
Although there's plenty on there that do knock the RAF regiment.
I've never knocked the RAF regiment.
Till now.
I didn't knock them then. I just said they'd done it in the day, we'd done it at night. But we would do live firing exercises, quite a lot of good training. It was a fantastic place. While I was at Fox Bay, one of the things I'd mentioned the guards, and I mentioned the OPs. I didn't mention the patrols. We'd go out on 4 or 5 day patrols because it would take that long to get to settlements.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like being in the Brecon Beacons. You know, we would, just like the Brecon Beacons, but we could walk for 3 or 4 days and not see a living soul, just sheep and birds of prey and seabirds. And at the end of that, we'd go over the brow of a hill and look down, and there'd be 2 little houses and a barn and some paddocks. And that would be at the settlement, miles and miles away from anyone. And we would, great. And we would get down there, I'd say to the troops, right, start laying your stuff out here, because it was all bivvy bags. And me and the platoon commander would go to see the local, knock on the door, and they would come to the door and I'd say, oh, hello, how are you? We haven't seen anyone for ages. And I'd say, we were just, popping over to make sure you know we're still here. And we'd say to them, do us a favour, will you tell Fox Bay that we've arrived?
Yeah.
Because we'd have C-42s, huge radios, diapoles. It had to be split up between the whole patrol because there was so much kit. While we were going down there, they'd have the diapoles up and they'd be on the radio trying to get through. They would have a little CB, no bigger than the TV there. And I'd say, yeah, all right. And they would go to the CB and just pick up and say, Fox Bay, are you there? And they'd say, yeah, Fox Bay here. And they'd say, go to channel 6, just to keep that calling channel open. Turn to channel 6, then they could talk. And they'd say, oh, can you let the boys at Fox Bay know their patrols come? And we'd say, cheers. Fox Bay would know we were there instantly, because they would then come out of their little farmyard and say to our company, oh, your lads have just arrived at such and such a settlement. And that we couldn't, those radios were useless. We might as well have left them under our beds, all the bits, and hid them under there and got
Tin
off
can with a bit of string.
Yeah. But it was fantastic. They were lovely people as well. Yeah, in this one particular, and this is just one settlement of dozens that we visited, there was Nan and Grandad, who used to run the farm, but now are too old to, so they retired. He just potters around doing the casual work, and Grandma would do baking and what have you. And then there was man and wife, and their 3 or 4 children. And it would have just moved up as the years went on. Yeah. And he wasn't there when we arrived, but after a while he arrived home. He was on his horse. He'd been out checking his sheep, and it was just like, wow, it's really amazing to see. Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, that was the Falklands. I came home early from the Falklands. All my boys stayed there, and I came home early.
Bad behaviour?
No. I came home early because Anne was expecting our second child by now, Jason.
And Jason, yeah.
So I came home early to coincide with the expected date. They let me out, and that was good of them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, because I didn't expect it, platoon sergeant.
How much early was that?
2 weeks.
Oh, so you didn't have to go back again?
No. And he wasn't born. Which I just sat there waiting and waiting, and he just wasn't born.
Late as usual.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Why make a habit? Break a habit. Anyway, all the troops came back, and still hadn't been born. And they went when he was actually born, because Anne. I'll have to tell you this because this is rather amusing. We were in married quarters out in the sticks in Oakington, quite a long way away from Ely, which was the hospital.
It's Cambridgeshire again.
Yeah, that's right, out in the fens. And that night Anne said, oh, yeah, I've had another twinge. She said, oh, it might not be, because Joanne was very quick, very quick. But Anne was in hospital to have it. In those days, you used to go into hospital, at least for your first one. Anyway, so there wasn't a problem. I washed my hands of the problem. It wasn't your responsibility now, the doctors and nurses. I went down the wagon and horses and had a few beers because I was on my own. But this time it was different. And
Cat.
yeah, she said, oh, it could be very soon. And I said, what, should we call someone now? And she said, no, don't be silly. 1 o'clock in the morning, she nudged me and said, it's coming. I said, don't be silly, it can't, you said it wasn't. She said, oh, no, it's okay. I think it's okay. I said, no, you said it's coming. So, sorry. You said Jason was coming. So, I said, I'm going to phone up the medic.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't an ambulance, we had to phone up the medical centre. I phoned up the medical centre, can't remember the guy's name. He was shot in Ireland in his foot. Anyway, he was the medic on duty. And I said, well, I think we need you to come round and collect us. And don't forget, this is an old Army Bedford, converted, it had a hard shell, but it was converted to an ambulance. I said, I think you need to come round. And he said, I'm on my way. I said, there's no rush. And he said, that's all right, I'm all loaded up. Because I expected, this. Yeah. So, because he had nothing else to do, I guess. He got everything ready. And he said, I'll be, and he came straight round, opened up the back. We got in, I got in. And it was an army stretcher on wheels that was all strapped in. And there was gas and air and what have you. It was all decked out. But off we went. We'd only got down the bottom of the road, and Anne threw herself backwards and said, that's it. He's coming. I said, what do you mean? He can't be that quick. And she said, he's coming. So I banged on and I said, put your foot down. And he said, I'm going 40 already. I said, put your foot down. Otherwise he's going to be born in the back here. And it was, I had to give her air. It was, we were sharing the air, and we had to go all the way to Ely with her saying, it's coming. That was a really bad time. And it was was it snowing? It was snowing, and it was snowing. When was it? I don't know when it was, February, but it was snowing. And it was March. I should know his birthday, shouldn't I?
Really?
Yeah. But there was snow on the cap of the ball, which has got Ely written on it.
Oh, okay.
And I went past it, and I could see Ely written on that. Oh, thank God for that, because he was almost there. And we screeched to a halt. Jason was born, and I grabbed a hold. Here he is. I'm not giving birth to Jason. I'm delivering Jason. And I don't know what to do. And all of a sudden the doors flew open and the nurse came flying in, pushed me out the way. She had the mobile pack unit because the driver had told her that he was on his way. And she knew by Anne's record that she'd be quick. Yeah. So she had made up the mobile baby pack and completed the job in the ambulance. And she was whisked off and away. But I had to help get the stretcher out. Yeah. And by now I'm still in shock. Yeah. And the medic, he had hold of the front outside, and it was a massive, great big heavy thing. And when it got to the end of the ambulance, I wasn't expecting it, and it just went down and crushed all my fingers on the footstep of the ambulance. She was all right because my fingers saved it. But anyway, we got it off, and my fingers were just dripping blood. And the nurse said, right, get her straight in and you go in there to A&E. And I had to go in. When I went into the hospital and saw them for the first times and held Jason, all my fingers were bandaged. They were like little soldiers, little white caps on my fingers. Anyway, that was an eventful time. But anyway, when we got back to the Falklands, I took over the Milan platoon. While I was in the Falklands, on one of the exercises, the CO came up to me and said, when we go to Germany, which is very soon, we're going to have a much, much bigger Milan platoon. And I would like you to take over the mobile section.
So Milan, anti-tank rocket, anti-tank capability, and the battalion,
right. And I want you to take over the mobile Milan. They were Spartans, not 432s, they were Spartans.
The CV.
With whatever they were, Spartans. They had double rocket launchers on the top, and we would have been the bee's knees. And I said, yeah, all right. And he said, you'll get promoted to colour sergeant.
Wow.
And I said, well, that's all right. And he said, yeah, but you'll have to work for it because you're also doing 2IC, Milan platoon 2IC. And I said, oh, okay then. No, not a problem.
Yeah.
And he said, now that's a sergeant major's post. And your section commander's one is a platoon commander's post. You're going to have to manage because I can't promote you further. I said, that's all right. And that's what I had to do. Anyway, I went off to Neverhaven to do my, Warminster Neverhaven, to do my Milan course. And I'd done quite well on the course. But before I went, I hadn't even seen what a Milan was like. I didn't know anything about Milan because I'd been at the depot, remember? No Milan there. Got to the battalion, training for the Falklands. I might have seen it from a distance being fired, but I hadn't even touched it. And I went to Neverhaven, I had to learn how to use the weapon system. So when they were doing the demonstration lessons, which you're supposed to be watching to how to teach the lesson, I was watching how to learn it. But anyway, all worked well, and I'd done quite well on that. Got back to Germany and took over the Milan platoon. And
whereabouts in Germany was this?
This was when we went to Germany. It was
Clifton, Minden.
No, not Minden.
Minden, yeah, Clifton Barracks.
Clifton Barracks in Minden. Yeah. And I took over the Milan platoon, and I'll tell you now, there was more equipment for that platoon than there was for a whole rifle company. In a rifle company, a platoon in a rifle company has 4 vehicles.
Yeah.
I, as section commander in Milan, had 4 vehicles. You know what I mean? And there were, I think, 6 sections, all with 4 vehicles or whatever. It was much bigger than a company. I had far more equipment, and it was a nightmare. It was impossible for me to run the platoon and train, maintain, and run a Milan section. Impossible. But I was very, very fortunate that I had a corporal, John Geddes his name was, one of the most competent corporals I've ever known. And he certainly was the person I relied on. In the army, you rely on everybody all the time, don't you? You know? So I'm not belittling anything else, but I relied on him more than anyone else. At any other time in my career, I could stand in and take over. Yeah. He done everything. He maintained and trained that Milan section all on his own. Yeah. I had to do the whole platoon. When it came to an exercise, you didn't really need a 2IC because platoon commander's not really going to get killed, is he? Yeah. So I would then revert to mobile Milan. And he would have everything parked up, ready and going. I would wander over and say, all right, everything ready, cool, guys? And he said, yeah, all okay. I'll jump in my cupola, ready to move out. It was brilliant. You know, he really was one guy I really, really relied on, wonderful guy. But when we first got there, we didn't have proper Milan vehicles. We had 432s pretending to be Milan vehicles. So we would just jump out, we would just act as if it had imaginary ones. A bit embarrassing, really. But they said, you're going to be the first ones to be issued it. And they are on their way. They will be, but you know, it's Christmas.
Yeah.
One day, tomorrow. Never comes, does it, tomorrow? But they kept saying that, and in the end, we got a notification. Bless you. We got notification saying our new vehicles were on the way. And we had to go down to Minden Station to collect them because they were coming in on flatbeds.
Yeah.
Ah, what a day. Yeah, everyone, the night before, everyone was saying, oh, it's all exciting, because it was, for us, it was, you know, other people, they didn't give a flying fart, did they? But for us, we were really keen. And we went down there in a vehicle, all of us, and we went onto the platform, no train, had to wait. The vehicle waited. I said, don't go yet, to the Land Rover driver, don't go yet, because we may need you.
Yeah.
I don't believe it until I see it. And the train came in flatbeds, 4 brand new Spartans, beautiful paintwork, you know, green, but they looked absolutely lovely. And the people that were delivering it rolled them off onto the hard standing by the side of the station. And we had 4 brand new ones. I said, okay, boys, off you go. And we all jumped in. And the drivers all got in, and incidentally, we could drive them on normal roads.
Yeah.
Because we had track pads. You couldn't drive a tank on normal roads, but we had track pads, rubber pads. And off we went. And we arrived at Minden, unbeknown to me, but when we came in, the whole battalion was lining the way, cheering and clapping as we came in with our new vehicles. But nobody had seen vehicles like that. When we opened up the engine covers, everything was duck egg blue. No oil or anything. It was brand new duck egg blue. The whole thing was beautiful. Inside at the back, all the racks were lovely. There was no bent racks, you know. All the seating was lovely padded. Bliss. It was fantastic. We could have taken on the whole of the Russian army with them 4.
Driving in like Montgomery.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That was fantastic. And of course, after that, the exercises were a lot more realistic. We weren't allowed to fire them on the ranges unless it was a part of an exercise.
Oh, okay.
You couldn't just rock up at the firing point
Practice.
and just fire them up. They cost, in those days, God knows what now, in those days they were about 30 grand.
Well,
each.
I remember something I seem to remember during the Falklands. I think in one of the newspaper headlines it says, you know, the price of a bungalow being launched down the range, you know, at these bunkers. And they were using Milans. I think they were about 17 grand at the time.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of money.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had to build them into an exercise. We had to have a proper exercise and then fire the missiles from that actual exercise. And interestingly enough, from my career point of view, before we got those, so it wasn't those that kept me, but I got a letter from Neverhaven, the chief instructor there, asking me to go back and join the Small Arms School Corps.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the CO, I saw him leave the building, and he just happened to see me. And he said, oh, colours? I went over. And he said, I've just had a letter, and he explained to me what the letter was. They wanted me to go back there as an instructor and join the Small Arms School Corps. And he said, you know, I'm more than happy to let you go. You'll go with my blessing. And I said, oh, thank you, sir. And he said, however, I did ask you to do my, you know, mobile Milan, and it would be hard for me to replace you. And I said, oh, I'll stay. I'll stay. And he said, oh, great, well done, thanks very much. You know what I mean?
Who was the CO at the time?
Colonel Cook.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Colonel Cook.
Yeah.
Lovely bloke he was. He was my platoon commander when I was a corporal in C Company. It's a lovely thing, the army. It's a big family. Big family, it really is. And you're meeting people all the time and then saying goodbye to them and then bumping into them. Anyway, He used that emotional card, played the emotional card.
God, yeah.
Yeah. But if the truth be known, I didn't really want to be in the Corps of Corporals. You know what I mean? I was already a colour sergeant. What do I want to join them for, you know?
Yeah.
Wasn't really my game plan for my career. So I made him feel as though I was doing him a favour. You know what I mean? But of course I wasn't really.
Right, Dave, so we're just going to pause it there for a minute, just have a quick break.
Yeah.
Comfort break, and we'll be back with Dave as he continues onwards with his career. Back soon. Don't move. Let me turn that off. Take your thing off, mate. I will turn this